Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back, TCG Metagame Breakdown for early August 2022. So let's take a look the first weekend of part of the elements here in the TCG in real life. So that's the difference between past week where we got a couple of online tournaments, but this time we have the in real life results, or a couple of in real life results. Some sources or all sources will be in the video description, so definitely check them out, right? There are multiple in real life deck profiles on YouTube as well, so definitely check them out if you want more information about some players' choices, at least if you want to talk or hear what they said about their choices. So a couple of was about to say random deck lists, as in not Spright, not Tearlament, and after those we'll dig into the big two, I guess, of the current or upcoming TCG format, being Spright and Tearlament. Let's start off with Exosister first. Not too many Exosister lists. I guess we are pretty much in a very similar format as it was back in 2013. Two big decks and one, third deck being Evil Swarms. That third deck now, I feel it's a bit equal. On the same level, both Exosister and Punk. Pure Punk, definitely a solid contender to the current top tier decks, but I feel Spright and Tearlament are still better. So speaking of Exosister, I feel it's pretty stable, right? You're running like not half of the deck, but at least a fourth of the deck are hand traps, and then depends on if you still want to play Nibiru or not. We're seeing Nibiru still being played, so I guess you definitely should still respect Nibiru if you're playing a Nibiru weak deck like Punk, like Spright for example. Even though there is gigantic Spright and Spright has multiple answers for Nibiru, you should still definitely respect the Nibiru. But a big advantage of Exosister, they can definitely run Shifter in the main deck, and that's of course a big card against, for example, Tearlaments, right? Another extra deck list, a deck that I would not really, expect, Machina Earth or Earth Machines, featuring Therions as well. I guess one of the big advantages of this deck is that it can main deck the virus cards, mainly looking at deck Devastation Virus, which is an instant win if you can get it off against something like Spright, right? But I mean, let's face it, going into a multiple round YCS, this is not enough, right? It's not going to cut you or give you the opportunity to potentially make the top cut after like 10, 11, 12 rounds. Another extra deck list we have here is Madolche. Madolche really cool with the addition of Small World, again making the deck much more consistent, and again, as I mentioned before, Madolche is one of those decks that can definitely main one of the most powerful hand traps, but again, it's that hand trap that not too many decks can flat out main deck, and that's of course Shifter. Shifter in the main deck is a big metagame answer, and looking at the upcoming European Championship, which is, I guess, going to be the biggest tournament to date. That's going to be not this weekend, but the weekend after, so August 19, 20 and 21, where I believe it's going to be the first big test for not the tier 0 deck being Spright, but I feel that Spright is definitely the biggest deck for now. But, a lot of people will just main deck answers to that, and we're seeing Anti-Spell in the main deck here, Shifter as well. So Madolche, a lot of, again, as you know, one card starters, so it's still a very strong deck. But might, sacrifice some consistency, maybe. PK, no adventure, not too many adventure, engines decks here featured or available. People are well, then again, it's the first weekend. People want to play the new stuff. People want to play Tearlaments. People want to play Spright. So I guess that's one of the reasons why the engine is falling from main decks, I guess, even though it's still strong, right? The adventure package. So pure PK, Phantom Knights going full ham on all the traps. Not a huge fan of that, but I guess it works out. First place, by the way. Any specific things? Not really. We see Talents. Talents is one of those, you'll see it in the other deck lists as well. for this format, it's definitely going to be a very powerful spell. Both going first and going second as a board breaker. You know, it's a super flexible card compared to maybe a Crossout. And speaking of Crossout, another extra deck list we have here is Tri-Brigade. Also a deck that, you know, still is very strong, but I feel the other decks are just stronger. No. A small portion of that branded, well, package, I guess you know what I mean. That new combo the deck has. But still, I feel that other decks like Spright and Tearlaments are still a bit better. But I like the crossouts here in the main deck, even though none are not too many Spright decks are main decking crossouts. Simply because, well, stuff like Super Poly and or Talents are probably just better. Especially, you know, like main deck early format. But I don't know. If you're expecting a lot of Spright and Spright mirror matches, crossout might be very important. The last quote-unquote extra/random, well, it's not random, but you know what I mean, not Spright, not Tearlament, is Swordsoul. Took Swordsoul first place decklist, and he's, you know, not really very similar list to, you know, the first place of the North American World Championship qualifier. Oh yeah, Nationals, right? With the Mystic Mine. Mystic Mine is still a relevant threat, a relevant problem. You should still main deck stuff for that, right? And as you know, Spright can definitely do that. Tearlaments as well, with something like Fusion Substitute, even though it's, I don't think it was main decked in the lists here. You will see it in a couple of moments, but the second Swordsoul deck list, again, rivalry in the main deck. Mystic Mine, again, it's a card you still need to respect that one. So, okay, the big, well, almost big three. There's one punk list that was revealed last weekend, and some small changes compared to PAX list from the weekend before. The deck still needs to run Chaos Ruler. I mean, it's just far too strong getting a hand trap from that, or, you know, when it's like excavated, right? You know what I mean. I like the Super Poly in the main deck. You kind of sacrifice some hand traps from the main deck, but I believe Super Poly, both going first and going second, is a superb board breaker, for example, if going second. And I still feel that you indeed need to main deck the Gizmex, because if your opponent hand traps you, like your normal summon Zeami, you definitely need the extender in the form of teleport or whatever, right? And Gizmex definitely helps you out with that by extending your plays for Helgi or a level 11 synchro play, and you can go from there. Baron is still very strong, and that new fusion for Super Poly, it's definitely making an appearance in a lot of decks, and that's why Super Poly is so strong. Not sure about no Ghost Ogre in the main deck, because again, the new synchro from Power of the Elements can search that one out. But I guess, you know, in matchups where it's relevant, you can definitely side deck that one in. So, last but not least, the Spright and Tearlaments decks. A couple of first place, well, mostly top cuts deck lists. Most of them are very similar. You know, it's either Diva and or the Nimble build, and then another difference might be either running 1 carrot, 2 carrot, or the spell and or monster negation from Spright. So that's, you know, that might be a difference. Maybe a small difference in the hand trap lineup, but it seems that Ash, Imberm, Veiler, Crow, Ogre are pretty much the more staple ones. And I guess early format Nibiru being side-decked, but I feel that, you know, people maybe not respecting Nibiru, or Nibiru together with another hand trap might be the way to go, because it's just, again, a very powerful hand trap. As in Talents as well here in the main deck, as we are seeing in a lot of lists, right? Second are these another list here, also main decking the triple Talents, or, you know, in the main deck, and going for triple Nibiru, which is again super strong if it's paired up with more hand traps, or at least another hand trap to force out the first negator. More stuff, another Spright deck list, again very similar as, you know, the one we've seen before with the Diva package. No Nimble, but I mean, the Dupe Frog is still in the main deck. People are dropping Dupe Frog from the main deck because of, the Super Poly, but even then, the advantages might still be a bit too big. then again it might be a brick, right? So it's iffy. You still need to playtest a bit more, right, to see if you really want to drop Dupe Frog from the main deck in favor of, well, you know, not being nuked by a potential super poly from the opponent. Another one here, one of my favorites, and that's the Evil Twin featuring Spright. Definitely going to play that in real life as well. The main deck crossouts are needed. I'm not sure if you really want to go full ham on the package, right? The twin package in the main deck, maybe more searches. Then again, you want to have, you know, search targets in your deck, so that might be a big reason. Plus sides, we are not seeing any, you know, sides in any deck, right? Even though it's still a very big threat. So, but yeah, then again, Evil Twins is definitely a deck that can capitalize on an easy artifact side pop during your opponent's turn. So that's, you know, why it's probably there. But I like it. I like this deck a lot. The last Spright decklist is a second place decklist, 42 cards in the main deck, and it's the Adventure Spright deck. It might be an underdog because again players are dropping Adventure from the main deck, maybe also anticipating the ban list, right? Who knows, we might get one in the next upcoming weeks. But it's still strong. But I guess the biggest weakness of Spright Adventure is that you're kind of main decking a bit more bricks, and those bricks / slots could have been for more hand traps or board breakers, right? So it's up to you. And then last, Tearlaments. Let's see. Any big differences for Tearlaments? Not really. The more pure builds with, the King of the Swamp polymerization seems the way to go. A small Shaddoll package with Beast and or Skomata. Some Tearlament decks are running the Aerial, basically more Shaddoll cards. If you're running something like Punks, you can definitely go for the Shaddoll Falco, which is also a tuner, right? That, can be special summoned off of Helki, and that's an immediate Shaddoll name in your graveyard, so you're not, really too reliant on the potential mill or excavation of Chaos Ruler to hit that, Shaddoll name. But I feel that Tearlaments is definitely a deck that doesn't really need to main deck a lot of hand traps. The staple ones, Ghost Ogre maybe, Ash Blossom, Gammas, definitely possible. But main decking more on board breakers, and I'm looking at Dark Ruler, I'm looking at Talons, again, superb, going first and going second, and even maybe Super Poly if you find the space here in your extra deck. Well, definitely a, side deck. I'm not sure about the branded package of Tearlaments, I haven't tested that one out yet, but I'm not sure. I feel it's a bit weaker compared to the other Tearlaments builds, but again, that's my feeling about it. But again, I haven't tested it yet, so definitely feel free to leave, feedback about that. And then last, we see the Aerial here, and of course the Punk hybrid. But I guess that, you're kind of main decking some potential bricks. Then again, if you have the Chaos Ruler here in your extra deck for the 5 free mills, the free special summons, it might be worth it. But is it, again, next week we have a European Championship, is that the way to go? It might be an iffy one, but we see from all the lists here, Talons seems to be a fantastic card, both main and side decked. Same for Super Poly, main and or side decked, board breaker, and also going first for potential interruptions. And a lot of decks are just main decking so many hand traps. Gammas is falling to the side deck, but it depends. If you can force out an opponent's spell or Ash, Gamma is still the way to go here in the main deck, and again, Spright going second, Gamma might just stop their turn to prevent them having another level 2 on the field, right? But so, first results, the European Championship is going to be next weekend. No, not this weekend, but the weekend after, so we can definitely look forward to that one. Okay, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a comment or like. If you enjoyed the video, Riddim signing out. Peace.